In this lecture, I shall discuss about programs to show various types of errors such as syntax errors, linker errors, runtime errors, and logical errors. Let us consider this program where I will show some syntax errors that are introduced. Let me do int a is equal to 10 and write cout followed by printing the value of a. Now, if I try to execute this code, let's hover a mouse over here and it can tell me what type of error is expected. Expected a semicolon. It is saying that it is expecting a semicolon. Now, if I want to, compiler will be unable to compile this code to an object code if it encounters a syntax error. So, if you try to run this code after saving and you run this code, and you can see that it is indicating that expected comma or semicolon before cout. So in this cases, जब भी आपको ऐसी error आती है, just put a semicolon and try to remove it as early as possible. So this error is removed over now. Similarly, you can think of that you are making a call to a function. So let me make a function first for sum of two numbers. So let the number function be sum and let it accept two parameters. Now double and return let us say a plus b semicolon, and since it is returning a value, okay, uh, let me place a call to this function. uh, uh, Let it be function and let's say a, and since it will be returning some value, let the result be stored in some variable x. So I can indicate a lot of errors over here. If you look over here, it is saying that explicit type is missing. That is, you have not returning a type. So this is a compile time error. If you want to have some value, because int and double will return in double, so it's preferred if you do it like this. And you can see that now again it is showing me some error over here, that is a is of type double and a is of int and b is of identified is undefined. Okay, I have not declared this variable. This is again a problem over here. You can see it b is undefined, so this is also a syntax error, and this can be avoided if I write here b. Okay, okay, I have to write b. Now you can see that if I write, it is removed. Now this function call is again encountered. Function is okay. The name of the function is not matching, so this is also an encounter. This is we can avoid this time and write sum over here. Okay. So still it is showing that function. Okay. Control S. Now it is showing that too few arguments in the function call because we have declared wrong number of arguments. So let me declare a variable. Let it be int itself and 7. Now this where there will be implicit type conversion if I try to do so. So smaller type is promoted to higher type. So if I look now, okay, again the variable names are not matching. I have to write here x. Okay, no, I have to write, let it be b because I'm returning a value of b. So now this all errors are removed. So most of the syntax errors are removed. You can also have missing braces, like suppose if you write something like if always true, so you can write here 1, and I start with a brace and I forget to include a brace. Okay, so again you can see here when I indicate, now it is indicating that it is a matching brace for this one because of the colors also you can recognize. So but if you compile and run this program, so it is expected this at the end of input. So it is very difficult to recognize if it is a very lengthy code that which parenthesis will be ending where. So you definitely always put parentheses in pair whichever this is curly braces, this is parenthesis. Every starting brace should have a closing brace also. So these are some of the common syntax errors that are encountered. Now there are some semantic errors also, like if you okay, I hope let me run this program and see what will be the result. Okay, it's generating the result, and it's in fact returning a double value which is assigned to an integer. It would be much better if I add, let it be double to it, so you can see the results. If let it be 7.5. okay, now I run this code. Now it's again showing me this value. Now I change it to double because return value is double. Now let's see what will be the answer. There is a lot many conversions taking place. Okay, 7.5 as expected, because it's get the double value as the value that is printed over here. So you have to be very careful while using this particular code. Now let me try for some semantic error. uh, like I'd like to introduce some code. I'd remove some code. Let Okay, now suppose we know that int x is equal to 5 and y is equal to, let's say, 10. Now if I write x plus y is equal to z, it is a semantic error, because expression cannot L value means left value. We'll be discussing in expressions, the topic of expressions. L value is the left value. Okay, so it cannot it should be a valid L value, and it is not a valid L value over here. And moreover, there are many other types, like if you try it like this. Now if you print, you do get garbage value, as you know. If you true print x, you compile this. Okay, you are putting semicolon, so you compile and run. So you get some value, but compiler is it is though syntactically correct, that is syntax is okay, compiler does not detect such error. So but semantically that is making no meaning to the compiler. So in that sense, whatever internally you are missing now, like you are missing over here initialization, so as a result you are getting 10. So these all errors should be avoided. Okay, let me show you the concept of linker error. For this, I create a function, let's say void display, which simply displays a message cout in function display, and okay. So what I do is, instead of calling display, I hurriedly call print function. Now not the compiler who is complaining, it will be the linker that is complaining, and it is telling me that this is no you can say here the message is print is undefined. So let me save it and try to run this code. So you can see that in main, print was not declared in this scope. Okay, so this is the common error uh, that I am encountering here. So what the defined function or the link file is missing. So if I try to remove by calling it display, run it, so it's showing me the message that it is now working correctly. It is also possible due to, if I try to have the same overloaded functions I just copy this definition. Let me give it. Now I save it. Now it is showing me some error, and this error is that it is previously declared. So this is also a linker error because it could not find to which function it should resolve. And it is not always that we declare two functions in a program, but to actually see what happens, let me show you. Let me create a function and call it file1.cpp, and let me copy this code. Okay, let me copy this code here. Okay, and this again contains a global variable and a function. Let me name this variable global and assign a value 10. Now let display function be the part of this file. I save it. I create another file, file2.cpp, and right, enter. So I also copy this same code to here, and I look okay. I save it. Then I create a main file. Okay, I just copy this code and make some changes, and I change the message also in file 2, in file 1. Now here you are looking that global variable and display functions are same. So if I try to include these files, put in inverted commas, double inverted commas, and I copy this line. I now also declare extern variable that I will be using, and it is of int type. I have to write global. Now I write extern followed by the name of the function, void, and I just correct the spellings. Global void, name of the function is display, and I also declare it to be extern. Now I call this function from main. I have to correct it int main, and I print a global variable, and I call this function display. Now return 0. Okay, you write return 0 also. It's not mandatory still, but I write. Now let me save it and run this. You will say that it is indicating an error, that previously defined error, just because there is no compiler error, but this error is generated. So this is indicating me that it is having some linker error and it should be avoided. And this is how another way that when you are working with external files and external keywords, then you have there is a possibility that you have same name functions, global variables defined there, and you want to use them in a program. So this error is commonly found in that cases. So we should avoid this such type of linker errors. Now let us check for runtime errors in a code. Suppose I want to generate the result of cout 5 divided by 0. I compile this code. This code is okay, as you know, because no compiler error is generated. But when you try to run this code, it is showing me a warning that a runtime error has occurred and division by 0 is not possible. So if I change this number to 2, it will still work and generate 2 because both are integers and integer conversion result in an integer. And if you can perform some conversions like assigning 2.0, then it can generate you the correct answer because one is double, so other gets converted to double. Then some other errors is assigning a value out of range, like int, okay, unsigned int. We have done this that it gives some generate some x is equal to -4, okay, and print this value. So again, you will not be getting no compile errors, but you're getting an unwanted value. Or you can also think of something like this: int a is the name of the array and let it contain values 10, 20 and 30, and you know the index starts from 0, so let me print the value of a5, which does not exist in the above array. Now let's see what is the answer. So it is again generating a value which is not there. Similarly, I try to calculate the square root of a number and I print square root sqrt. For this I have to include the header file cmath because it is being -3. First let me write, and I write the include the header file and see what will happen. Hash include for cmath because it is there from. Now if I try to run this value, it is again generating some value that is nan, indicating not a valid value. So similarly, what can happen is if you try to allocate memory using new and do not deallocate it, or you run a loop that runs infinitely, or the index goes out of bound. So all these errors can result in a runtime error because you are expecting some output and you are not getting that output. So this is why runtime error should always be avoided, and because compiler does not detect these errors, so you have to avoid these. Now we'll be discussing these new and delete pointer later, but for the timing you can assume that if because memory is allocated using new, then you have to use delete, because if you don't do so, then the memory will not be freed on the heap, and as a result, if a loop or infinite loop is made to allocate memory, and you can imagine how much memory will be allocated and not freed, then it can be a problem. Now let's see the code for logical errors. For this, what I can do is I calculate the sum of first 10 numbers. Okay, for this I take initialize sum is equal to 0. Okay, and I take a loop for I is equal to, okay, I have to declare it. Let me declare int I is equal to 0. This is a for loop that I'm using. Then I less than 10 I plus plus, and I generate a sum statement to increment the sum by I, and this is because I'm not enclosed, मैंने brackets नहीं डाली, तो ये सिर्फ यही statement इसके साथ चलेगी. और अब आप इसमें sum की value को print करने चाहेंगे. अब इसको हम सेव करते हैं और इसको रन करते हैं, तो आप देख रहे हैं आंसर आ रहा है 45, बट आप 10 नंबर्स हैं तो आंसर तो 55 आना चाहिए. तो ये कंपाइल भी हो गया ना, रन टाइम एरर आई ना, लिंकर एरर आई. तो यहाँ पे जो एरर है वो क्या है कि ये 0 से 9 नंबर्स का सम जनरेट कर रहा है, ना कि 10 को. अब इसी को अगर हमने ठीक करना हो तो हमें यहाँ पे इक्वल टू डालना पड़ेगा, और अब ये हमें करेक्ट आंसर देगा. तो इस तरह की एरर जब सब कुछ सही है, बस आपका लॉजिक गलत है, तो एक प्रॉब्लम आ सकती है। इसी तरह अगर आप एज्यूम करें कि आपने एक स्टेटमेंट लिखनी है कि अगर मान लो int x is equal to 5 and y is equal to 2, let two numbers, okay, and you want to divide but want to make sure that the number is not 0, okay, so you make a condition y is equal to 0 and add cout not possible, because division by 0 you want to generate a message that it should generate a message that it is not possible. And if this, okay, you have put a bracket, then you have to start and end a bracket, okay, else, and you generate a message cout and you calculate the value of x divided by y. And I remove this statement, and for function is int I have written this. Spelling should be always correct, I have not written it. Now if I run this code, 5 divided by 2, because what is happening, you are not getting in the answer, so it is not showing any output, okay, just because I have made a mistake, which is not a compiler error, not a linker error. I have to make ensure that it is checked for condition, okay. Earlier it was assigning the value. Now let me run at this code and it is generating a value 5 out of those. Okay, I generate it like this to better understand the output. So you can see now it is generating the output. Earlier it was not giving me the output just because I had assigned. Now let me change it back. So this is again a logical error. Okay, so you should ensure that such errors are avoided. No doubt there is a hit and trial method like I am using, but the better technique is you debug the code and then, मतलब आप debugging करें properly, तभी ये चलेगा. जैसे अगर मान लो एक और स्टेटमेंट करते हैं कि आपको एक लूप लगानी है और हेलो को 5 बारी प्रिंट करना है. int I is equal to 0 semicolon I less than 5 I plus plus, you put a semicolon here, okay. Now if I print hello and I want to separate with endln, okay, now I run, save and run this code, you will see hello is printed just once. Why? क्योंकि आपने जब सेमीकोलन डाल दिया तो ये एक स्टेटमेंट को यहीं पे खत्म कर देती है, ये सिंगल बार एग्जीक्यूट होके अपना काम 0 के लिए चल जाता है. अब इसको हटाएंगे तो ये भी एक लॉजिकल एरर है जो कि हमें अवॉइड करनी चाहिए. तो इस तरह से हमें लॉजिकल एरर्स अपने कोड में नहीं आने दें.